I'm Kelly Burke, and I'm the COO for Kifcure. I'm going to have Jarett kind of do a little bit of a brief introduction on the Farmer Informational Series and kind of what we're going to be talking about here today, and I'll kick it off as he completes that.
Yeah, great. Thank you for joining us, everyone. This is the second installment of the Hemp Farmer Informational Series hosted by Kifcure. We aim to have this series once a month, all the way up until March of 2024. Each month, what we aim to do is focus on a different facet of industrial hemp. So in this particular segment, what we're going to focus on is the grain component, growing hemp for grain. So again, thank you for everyone joining us. Anyone online, we want to make this as interactive as possible. There will be a time for Q&A at the end of the session, but certainly if things come up along our discussion and you want some clarification, feel free and raise your hand online or here in the audience. So without further ado, let Kelly take it away.
Sure. We'll start with some introductions right here. To the left of me, I have Bert James. And I'll allow him to kind of give a little bit of background on himself, but he's a farmer and a crop consultant, and I'll let you kind of take it away, a little bit of background and how you're involved in the industry.
Yep, 30 seconds. Have been a crop consultant for a long time, over 2 decades. Got into industrial hemp because I thought it would be a great rotational crop for our pigweed problem in North Carolina. You know, something that grows fast in a cold germ situation. We opened that door only to have CBD come in and kind of take front and center stage. So now we're finally at that stage now where fiber and grain are starting to kind of get back in the forefront, which is what we always wanted. Not knocking CBD, but we work with Jarett here at Kifcure and have seen that they are a very legitimate effort in this region. And so now my path has taken me to seed distribution, where we import seed from Europe to different countries, and we match it with the latitude and the region and the use. And you guys are blessed because you're right in the sweet spot for a lot of those genetics. So I'm here for a good reason, but mostly to support Jarett because I believe in what Kifcure is trying to do. So that's why I'm here from North Carolina.
Thank you, Bert. And then I'll move on to Jarett. I know you kind of briefly gave a little introduction, but maybe you can kind of reiterate and go in a little more depth.
Sure. My name is Jarett Burke, co-founder and CEO of Kifcure. We're a Midwest hemp solutions provider, providing services and distribution to hemp farmers across the Midwest. And we aim to grow thousands of acres with some of our farmer partners here in the audience today and others, and really make this hemp fiber crop more than viable for big industries around our area.
Thank you, Jarett. Up next, we have a special guest, Rachel Berry. Rachel is the president of the Illinois Hemp Growers Association, and she's been a great advocate in the industry. And Rachel, I'll let you take it away, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks everybody for having me out tonight, Jarett and Kelly. I'm Rachel Berry. I'm the CEO and founder of the Illinois Hemp Growers Association. We're a membership organization. We work with farmers, legislators, universities, business owners, really anybody who's interested in being in the hemp industry, you know, processors we work with, of course, too. Anyone who's interested in working in the industry, is working in the industry, wants to work in the industry, and needs maybe assistance with education, getting plugged into networks, that sort of thing. We have a great website and a forum, a lot of community engagement, get-togethers, that kind of thing. I'm also the hemp market manager for Pan Exchange. We're a commodities trading organization. So I work within the hemp commodities field, I guess you could say. I also work with the National Hemp Association. I used to serve on the board of the U.S. Hemp Building Association. I'm a hemp farmer myself. I grow fiber and grain also. I've been in the industry since 2016, 2017. So I've seen a lot, tried a lot, heard a lot, and I'm happy to be here in support of Jarett and Kelly and Kifcure.
Cool, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we're going to start it off with just kind of going over some of the basics. Let's talk about the differentiation between CBD hemp and hemp for grain. And then maybe during this discussion point, we can kind of elaborate on the different portions of the plant and kind of where hemp grain falls within the anatomy of the hemp plant. We'll start with you.
Great. It's definitely the same plant. It's just been cultivated for a different use. The hemp that we grow for grain and fiber have the same cannabinoids. They're just not as concentrated. A lot of the CBD plants we see now came from Colorado. They were really good THC varieties, and they're very good at what they do. They dialed that THC down as much as they could, cranked the CBD up, and very quickly we had some very high potency cannabinoids, and they were able to tweak whatever they wanted. If they want a CBG, CBN, there's some of that. It's just a natural progression, but at the end of the day, they're the same exact plant, but the plant is very malleable to human hands, and it's very quick to breed certain characteristics that you'd like to see, especially in CBD where you can clone, not so much in the fiber grain world where it's good old fashioned 7-year genetics programs. But basically what we deal with now with Jarett and some of the farmers are certified genetics from Europe, where they've been down to 0.02% as their standard THC, which qualifies that as industrial grade hemp. CBD still has to be below 0.03 here to qualify as industrial hemp. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does not. But for the most part, guys do a really good job at maintaining that. So at the end of the day, it's basically plant characteristics, but it's also just the cannabinoid concentration, THC versus the cannabinoids, CBD and others. And then of course we get into the way that you plant the hemp very much affects the plant and how it grows. If you plant it in 1 million plants per acre like we do with fiber, it tries to race to the sun and you get really tall 10-foot plants. If you space it out for CBD like tobacco or 2,000 plants an acre, it grows like big bushy Christmas trees. I won't take much more time, but I happened to accidentally get a cross-pollination event one year with some Chinese fiber variety with some Colorado CBD just for fun. The next year I figured I'd see what would happen, and it was just these gargantuan Frankenstein plants. I don't know what they're good for, but they just a case in point, as soon as that cross-pollination occurs, both of those plants were certainly there the very next year. So that could be a problem, but also could be an opportunity.
All right. Which one of you would like to jump in on this?
Sure. I mean, cannabis is hemp, hemp is cannabis. Like our friend here said, it all just depends on what you're trying to grow, what varieties have been bred for certain characteristics. There's a lot of different genetics out there. It's great to know folks who have tried and true, who have certified genetics. You can be like me and try lots of different genetics that may not work for you, because there's so many out there. Some of them are certified, some of them are not. I don't know what else much to say. I think you summed it up really well. Hemp is cannabis, cannabis is hemp. It just depends on what your end product you would like from it. Between all the fiber, and maybe you have soil to remediate, that would be your fiber. You want long textiles, bast fiber, clothing, textiles, plastic, stuff like that. That's going to be your fiber. Grain is going to be personal care products, food for people, food for animals. You can press oil. I mean, biofuels. There's all kinds of stuff technologically that's coming out with grain. And then your cannabinoids are going to be your medicinal, your more personal care, holistic, wellness type products.
All right. And Jarett, you want to touch on grain? I think they both really touched on the combination of the two. Dive in a little bit about grain.
So I think what gets really interesting when we start talking about these multi-uses of the same plant is when we start talking about the dual purpose, so like a dual crop, which would be being grown for both the grain heads and the fiber and bast content of that. And what really will be interesting here in the coming years, we're not really there yet with the genetics, but once we're starting to talk about a tri-crop, so you're talking fiber, grain, and CBD, where you can harvest all three and really for the farmer, really monetize 3 times, not just once of cutting down the fiber, which most of the fiber that was grown here, at least in Illinois, was grown for a single purpose, just grown for the fiber and bale it up and ship it off. Next year, us as Kifcure, we're going to try and get, and along with some of our farmer partners, we're going to try and get that dual crop. And there's some new equipment that's coming out from some of the big manufacturers, I think, that will allow that to happen. We're not really there yet, but that gets really interesting because then essentially your profits nearly double. So good for everyone.
And excellent answers. Thank you guys so much. And for anyone who doesn't quite know, hemp grain is grown in the flower portion of the plant. It's the seeds that are produced by the hemp plant. And grain is traditionally grown from like the tall industrial hemp plants. So this is more of a row crop that you're going to see out in the fields rather than your hand-picked vegetables, which is similar to the cannabinoid hemp.